Have you ever felt like something is watching you in the dark and you know it ain't human? Yeah, I used to laugh that off. I'm Nick Winchester, Chicago cop. I've been on the force for almost 11 years now. Seen all kind of horror in the streets, things people do to each other. But this wasn't something from a crime report. This was something ancient, something that doesn't belong above ground. We were a group of 5. Me, my buddy Lucas, a firefighter from Philly, solid guy. Jamie, an EMT from Tulsa, who packed more medical gear than a field hospital. Then there... more than a field hospital. Then there were the twins, Derek and Clay. They were the real cave rats, always posting on forums, obsessed with these deep, unmapped tunnel systems in remote ranges. The Blue Mountains in Australia were their latest fixation. I had just gotten off a string of night shifts. The city was grinding me down. Lucas suggested a break, said it'd be good to disconnect, breathe a little. We all liked a good challenge, and I figured some remote cave exploration would clear the cobwebs. Plus, I hunt. Been doing it since I was a teen with my uncle. Something about being deep in the wild, reading signs, tracking. It's meditative in a way, but caves are a whole other kind of wilderness. We landed in Katoomba early June, summer for us Americans, but the wind up there, it sliced right through you. The locals told us the gusts get nasty that time of the year, howling like banshees in the canyons. We shrugged it off. We'd brought climbing gear, food, water, even a collapsible shelter. The entrance was known among a few underground spelunking forums called the Hollow. That's all. No coordinates, no official records, just whispers and grainy GoPro clips that ended abruptly or were too dark to make out. I had watched some YouTube videos about it a week before. Nothing conclusive, just weird sounds echoing in the dark and sudden cuts. Wish I had taken that more seriously. The first day was mostly a vertical descent into the limestone maw. The light faded fast behind us, swallowed up by rock. It was tight, humid, and smelled of old earth and something else, like wet copper and rot. Around the 3-hour mark, we found our first chamber. Massive. The walls were jagged and uneven, with mineral veins that caught the beam of our headlamps like veins of blood. We set up base there, planning to push deeper the next morning. That night, hell, I can still hear it, we heard it. A scraping sound. Not the kind rock makes when it settles. No, this was rhythmic, deliberate, like claws dragging across stone, slow and steady, echoing from the tunnels ahead. Clay whispered, "You guys hear that?" Lucas raised his headlamp toward the passage. Nothing. Just blackness and the whistling wind outside echoing down the shafts. Derek said it was probably bats or dripping water. But I've hunted. I know when something's breathing. You can feel it, even in your bones. We posted a rotating watch anyway. My shift was around 3 a.m. I sat in silence, flashlight off to preserve battery, just listening. And then I heard it again, this low gurgling moan. Not close, not far either, like it was dragging itself somewhere deeper in the cave. I didn't wake the others. I should have. That was mistake number 1. Next morning we debated turning back, but you know how it is. Pride, adrenaline, curiosity. We decided to do one more push, just one. We descended another level through a narrow shaft where we had to crawl on hands and knees. The passage opened into another chamber, this one filled with strange markings on the walls. Not carvings, claw marks, long curved gashes in the limestone, old but unmistakable, some fresher than others. I saw a patch of dried brown on the wall and thought, that ain't rust. Jamie looked pale. This isn't right, she said. Something lives here. And then we heard it again, not scraping this time, chittering. Fast like bones clicking together, coming from multiple directions. The tunnel we had crawled through, we heard something rush past it, behind us. That's when we armed up. I had a 10mm Glock in a waterproof pouch. Lucas had a hunting knife. Clay pulled out a collapsible baton. Jamie grabbed a flare. Derek was shaking. Then something screeched, a piercing, inhuman shriek that shook the walls. Our headlamps flickered. I don't know if it was a battery failure or interference, but for about 5 seconds, everything went black. That's when it attacked. I only caught a glimpse in the flicker of Jamie's flare. A hunched thing, pale skin stretched over a skeletal frame, long limbs like a spider but with fingers, claws. Its face was wrong, no eyes, just a split mouth that opened sideways, aligned with jagged teeth. It slashed at Clay, tore right through his shoulder and vanished into the shadows. He screamed, blood poured down his chest. Jamie dropped beside him, pulling out gauze. Derek lost it, ran back toward the shaft. That was mistake number 2. We heard him scream not 30 seconds later. Then nothing. I fired twice in the dark. Didn't hear a hit, didn't hear it flee either. Just silence. We had no choice. We couldn't carry Clay up that crawl shaft. His arm was useless. Jamie was doing her best, but the wound was deep. We sealed the chamber entrance with rocks as best as we could, and lit a fire from alcohol gel and torn fabric. We stayed the night. That thing came back. It didn't attack this time, just paced outside the chamber. We could hear it breathing. It mimicked our voices. I swear to you, it repeated things we said hours ago. Jamie's voice saying, "We'll be okay." Lucas' voice saying, "Hold pressure." Even mine, "I've got you covered," mocking us. I'd seen videos like this online. Cave creatures, pale humanoids, rakes, crawlers, even stuff tied to native legend or theories about subterrestrial species. People think it's just creepypasta. I'm telling you it's not. At dawn, we made our move. Clay could barely walk, but Lucas and I rigged a sling with rope and helped him. We moved slowly, flare in hand, gun ready. The tunnel back was different, deeper. I swear the cave had changed, like it had reconfigured. We stumbled into side paths we didn't remember, and then we saw it again, crouched in a crevice, watching. Its mouth opened, but no sound came. Then it just crawled backward into the rock, like a spider vanishing into a crack. We didn't chase it, we didn't need to. We just ran. Somehow, call it luck, adrenaline, or the cave taking pity, we found the original shaft. Derek's body was there, torn open, no blood left. We got out just past noon. The wind outside hit our faces like freedom. Clay survived barely, lost the use of his right arm. Jamie quit her job a week later. Lucas hasn't spoken to me since. I don't blame him. We don't talk about it much. None of us do. I filed it under a wild animal attack in the embassy forms, no questions asked. But at night, when it's quiet and I close my eyes, I hear that chittering again. And sometimes My phone plays back old voice memos, ones I never recorded. Never go into a cave that isn't on the map. If you hear breathing in the dark, run. You know how they always say you shouldn't go poking around places that don't want to be found? I used to think that was just old folk talk, stuff my grandfather used to say when I was a kid visiting his cabin in Northern California. But now I know better. My name is Nick Smith. I'm a cop out of LA, but I was born and raised in Oregon. That whole part of the country gets into your blood. Thick forests, hidden trails, quiet mountains. That's probably why hiking stuck with me over the years. It's how I reset, clear my mind. And after the year, I had 2 shootings, a failed engagement, and more overtime than I care to admit. I needed a break. That's when my cousin Levi invited me on this trip. Him and a few of his buddies from Portland were heading out to Maine, of all places, to do some cave exploring near a place called the Devil's Hollow, west of Baxter State Park. Sounds like something out of a bad horror flick, right? I should have said no, but I didn't. We were 5. Me, Levi, Marcus. He was a geology grad student. Benny, a quiet guy but tough as nails. And a woman named Claire, a backwoods survival instructor who knew more about edible moss than most chefs know about their own kitchens. The weather was perfect, early October. The leaves were on fire with color, and the sky was the kind of crisp blue you only get on the East Coast. Sunlight poured through the trees. The air had that spicy fall scent, and there wasn't a cloud to be seen. We parked near an old ranger station that had clearly been out of use for years. Claire had a topographic map that showed a barely visible trail leading up to a cave system supposedly known by the locals as the Breeding Mouth. And yeah, the name made us laugh at first. Now, before I go further, I'll admit this. I'd heard stories about this kind of place. When I was younger, I was big into weird cryptid documentaries, YouTube channels that explored missing persons cases in national parks, that kind of thing. A few of those late night videos talked about caves in Maine, about people who vanished, about sounds echoing from the deep that didn't match any known animal. They used names like the Pale Watchers or Breeders, stuff that sounded half fake, half Appalachian ghost story. But when we reached the cave and I felt the cold breath of wind coming out of it, despite it being a warm day, I remembered those videos, and I should have listened to my gut. The cave entrance was wide but sloped. We geared up with headlamps, ropes, and enough backup batteries to power a lighthouse. I had my service pistol holstered at my waist, standard issue. Levi brought a hunting knife, Claire had a climbing axe, and Marcus carried a flare gun. Benny? He had this ridiculous multi-tool he swore could cut through steel. We gave him hell about that. The first 30 minutes inside were beautiful, honestly. The cave was dry, with crystal formations like teeth growing from the ceiling, and strange patterns along the walls that Marcus said were mineral veins and erosion scars. But then we heard it, a breath. Not ours. A low, drawn-out inhale that echoed through the stone around us, like something asleep was slowly waking up. We stopped moving, all of us. Claire mounted. Did you hear that? I nodded, and then it charged. It came out of a lower crevice in the wall, so fast we barely registered it. Something pale, not white, not grey, pale, like a peeled thing that had never seen light. It was long, hunched, but fast. Too fast. We only saw pieces, a flash of ribs, too many joints, and a mouth that didn't belong on anything that walks on land. It rammed into Marcus first, took his leg out like a linebacker and dragged him into the dark screaming. We didn't even have time to react. Claire fired her flare. The red light exploded against the cave walls, and in the distance we saw the thing, just standing, watching. Its chest was heaving, like it breathed too hard or too much. Its face didn't have eyes, just folds of flesh and the slit of a mouth that opened too wide. Then it was gone. We ran. Not in a panic, but with the kind of cold military precision that only true fear unlocks. I took point, flashlight and pistol ready. Claire pulled Benny along when he tripped. We didn't speak. There was no yelling, just the sound of our boots on stone and the sickening echo of breathing behind us. It circled us from the sides. You'd hear it shuffle on the right, and just when you turned your light, the sound would slide to the left. It was playing with us. Benny screamed suddenly. Something had clawed at his back. Not deep, but enough to make him fall. Claire dragged him upright while I fired blindly into the dark. One shot, then another. No scream, no body, just that damn breathing. Faster now, hungrier. We finally saw a sliver of light above. Claire spotted it. "That's a vent shaft," she yelled. We climbed. We're out. It was steep, too steep for Benny, bleeding and limping. Levi hoisted him up first, giving me a nod. "Cover his neck." I took position with my pistol, heart pounding, ears straining for every sound. And then I saw it again, 10 feet away, crawling along the cave wall like a spider, mouth opening, that dry, sucking noise like a vacuum hose inhaling air through gravel. I fired, hit something. It screeched, loud enough to make the rock tremble. My ears rang, but I saw it flinch, curl back into the dark. We got Benny up. Claire went next. Then Levi. I am last. I holstered the pistol, jumped for the rope and pulled. The thing screeched again, louder. It was climbing the wall now. Claire grabbed my hand at the top, yanked me up with every ounce of strength she had left, and just as I scrambled out of the shaft, I felt claws swipe at my boot. Didn't get me, but it tried. We rolled onto the dry grass outside. The sun was still shining. Birds chirped in the trees. It was a beautiful autumn day. We were all shaking. Benny passed out. Marcus? We never found him. We reported it, of course. Said he fell into a pit. That's what the rescue team logged. No one believed anything else and we didn't push it. But I knew. I remembered those videos. The breeding ones. And I think I understand now. Those caves in Maine, they're not empty. They're not abandoned. They are alive. I still hike, but I don't go near holes in the ground anymore. And when I hear wind rush out of a cave, I walk the other way. Every damn time. Have you ever walked into a place and immediately felt like you shouldn't be there? Not like a bad neighborhood or a sketchy bar. I'm talking about something ancient, primal, a place that wasn't made for people and doesn't want them. Yeah, that's what happened to us in Catskills. My name's Damien Crow. I am from Denver, but my unit rotates through the Northeast pretty often. Between deployments, training, and the usual bureaucratic chaos, I take what downtime I can get. Hiking's been my thing since I was stationed up near Washington. It's quiet, It's clean, and most importantly, it shuts the noise off in my head. So when a couple of buddies from Fort Drum hit me up about exploring an old cave system in upstate New York, I figured why not. Beats the hell out of sitting around base. There were 4 of us total. Me, Nick Phelps, sniper, always too quiet, Ben Hardy, engineer, built like a bear and twice as stubborn, and Jace, our medic, sarcastic as hell but rock solid when it counted. We met up in the Catskills, just before a winter storm rolled in. The weather reports were yelling about high winds and heavy snow, but we had solid gear. We weren't planning a long expedition, just a 48-hour in and out, nothing crazy. The cave we were heading to was called Stone Vale. Locals barely talked about it, but there were whispers online, threads of obscure forums, deleted Reddit posts, stuff about disappearances, not just hikers, rescue teams too. That should have set off a red flag, but you know how it goes. We've trained to walk into danger. It's in the job description. I'd heard stories about cryptids in the region before. Nothing official, just things passed around in late night ops. Cave ghouls, the crawlers, the faceless. Thought it was all just spook talk. It's not. We reached the mouth of the cave just as the storm rolled in. Wind howled through the trees like something dying. The sun disappeared behind thick grey clouds and snow started spitting sideways. The temperature dropped fast, too fast. Ben grunted, "We're already here. Let's push in. Might be safer inside than in this mess." So we did. The cave was deeper than any of us expected. Not just wide, but hungry. The kind of depth that pulls light out of the air. Cold wrapped around us like a noose. Our headlamps did next to nothing past 15 feet. Jace laughed nervously. "This place gives me the creeps, man. Feels like the cave's watching us." Nick just nodded. Then, after about an hour of moving through winding shafts and cathedral-like chambers, it happened. The first attack. It was fast. Too fast. We were crossing a narrow ledge above a drop, 30 feet down, when something slammed into Ben from the dark. 1 second he was beside me, the next gone, screaming. The rest of us scrambled to the ledge. Ben had landed on a shelf below, hurt but alive. Then we saw it, a pale figure, longer than a man, crawling on the walls like a spider, limbs too thin, too many joints. No eyes, no face, just a raw, gaping hole where a mouth might have been. It hissed like steam leaking from a broken pipe and vanished into the stone. Jace fired his sidearm. 3 shots. Nothing hit. Nick was already lowering a rope to Ben, who was yelling something incoherent. I covered the tunnel with my rifle, heart punching through my chest. "Move," I barked. "Get him up now." We hauled Ben up. He had a gash along his leg, deep, torn, like a bear had swiped him, but he could still walk. We didn't turn back. Don't ask me why. Maybe it was pride or stupidity. Or maybe that damn cave was already working its way into our heads. We pushed deeper, hoping to find a chamber big enough to hole up for the night. We found one. Massive dome, stalactites like stone teeth above us. Flat enough to make a camp. We set motion sensors near the entrance, part of Jace's gear, and kept the fire small. We needed the heat, but we didn't want to draw attention. That night, we heard it again. Not a scream, not a roar. Breathing. Like a great animal somewhere in the tunnels. Slow, wet, and close. Then, scratching, circling. The sensors went off twice. Nothing appeared, nothing visible at least. Jace whispered, "It's not hunting, it's toying with us." We took turns sleeping, or trying to. I barely closed my eyes. Morning came, at least our watches said it did, but it was still pitch black outside. The storm had worsened, the pressure in the cave dropped. You could feel it in your ears. That's when we made the call. Time to leave. Ben could barely walk. We made a sling between two poles, carried him. Every sound echoed, every breath felt loud. Then the thing came back. It didn't attack, it circled us. We saw flashes just outside the beam of our lights. A shoulder here, a hand dragging along the rocks there. Jace threw a flare down on one shaft, and we saw a silhouette, wrong, stretched, and twitching. It backed away from the light. So we used more flares, every few minutes, like breadcrumbs. The way back was harder. The snow had blocked part of the entrance tunnel. We had to use a side path none of us remembered entering through. It led to a deep shaft, too deep. Jace peered down, shaking. This isn't where we came in. Then the creature shrieked behind us. A sonic punch straight to the gut. Nick spun and opened fire. 3 rounds. I lit a flare and saw it, just for a second. Its mouth opened sideways, it looked almost human for a heartbeat. Then it blinked, without eyes, and retreated into the cracks. We had to go down. We rigged a rope, lowered Ben and descended one by one. The shaft dropped into an old mining tunnel, stone supports, rusted tracks, old, forgotten, and familiar. I remembered a story I'd read in a comment thread months back. Some guy talking about miners disappearing in the Catskills after blasting into a new chamber in the 1800s. Said they opened something that shouldn't breathe. Everyone mocked him. I didn't anymore. We followed the tracks. Eventually we found daylight, a second exit, probably a service tunnel from the mining days. We emerged into the snow like drowned rats, bleeding, gasping, alive. No sign of the creature, just cold and light. We hiked to a ranger station 2 miles down. Bent went to the hospital, the rest of us gave statements. Animal attack, collapse, hallucinations from bad air. They nodded politely. No one believed us, not really. But a month later, that cave was quietly sealed off by geological survey teams. The story never made the news, and I started dreaming about that breathing, low, patient, hungry. I still hike, but never in winter and never near caves, because some places aren't caves at all, they're mouths, and sometimes they are still open.